What is up, party people? It's your boys, Birds of a Feather, PY on the bottom, right down there. Got Jake over there, kind of down there. And then Chuck's. It's your boy, OGP. Yeah, not what we wanted to see Sunday, but reality check nonetheless. We're brought to you by Alonzi Travel, specializing in creative vacation your dreams at Disney Universal, wherever your heart calls to you. The talented team of travel experts creative a custom vacation just for you. Chuck's is included, and Andy Ritter. We're going to talk about what happened on Sunday right after these messages, because we'll be right back.
What's up, my family? Listen, first-time listener, or you've been here the whole damn time. Hit that like, hit that subscribe, giddy up, let's go, no notes.
That's my baby. That's my baby.
We're going at it at 110%.
I just want 5 minutes of happiness, please. Just give me 5 minutes.
And they scored! They did it!
Slap.
What the hell was that?
Oh, yeah!
What the f*** are you talking about?
We're back. Open the intro. I stole PY's gimmick real quick. A little LA night action. But,
Yeah!
Before, I'm going to plug something at the end of the show. But listen, let's just rip the Band-Aid off. Our kickoff statement today, once again, we're brought to you by Alonzi Travel. Check them out. The Eagles will finish as the NFC's number one seed despite the loss to the 49ers. Agree or disagree? I'm going to lead this one off. I agree because they won 5 in a row, lost 1, had a reality check, won a tougher 5 in a row, got the sweet chin music Jesus knocked out of them on Sunday, and they'll right the ship. And really, honestly, 5 in a row isn't that far-fetched if you take care of these next 2. Obviously, you got to get the one Sunday, but that was a humbling experience on Sunday for them. And their ability to be in the game, to have it go your way, then kind of get both straights a little bit, to get within one score, and then one missed tackle changed everything. Yep. And then it just snowballed from there. I still agree to the poll. I still think they finished as the NFC's number one seed, partly because of what schedule they had, but partly because of the quasi mini gauntlet at Dallas, and now San Fran doesn't have it, but they have an interesting game this week. And that Week 17 matchup with the Ravens, because how the AFC is so tight, I think this is setting up for the NFL where no team is going to be able to take off.
Yep.
And you can't rush shit because the Ravens are going to have everything to play for because that AFC race is so tight. And then if we keep pushing the issue, because people act like we're down in the win column, down in the loss column, where we still have one game up on the conference, but it's not looking good. But I agree to the kickoff statement. So I'm gonna toss it to Chucks. We'll save the Young Bucks for last.
I'm gonna agree to the poll. I think that in the end, when it's all said and done, the Eagles will have that number one seed. It's no guarantee. We still got a couple more really tough games to go to seal it up. And granted, it is going to be very, very tough because we have to be able to win in Dallas this Sunday night, and then we got to go to Seattle, which is always going to be tough for us. I think that we will rebound though, knowing this team, and we'll elaborate more on it as further down the show. I'm sure we will. But I'm not panicking because I'm not letting one blowout loss, and it was a really bad loss, but I'm not letting that change my mind about how I view this team as a whole. This is still one of the best teams in the whole league. We just got done several weeks talking about their resiliency, how they find ways to win. That hasn't gone away just because of one loss. So, I think as a whole, looking at just themselves and being able to get that number one seed, I do believe they will lock that up. I'm not worried about that aspect. I'm not worried about them locking up the number one seed. But I think what I do have concern over, though, is, and it's concern, it's not panic, it's concern, is whether this Eagles team, if this roster, if they have the horses to beat the 49ers. That's my concern. That's what I am.
Right.
I'm chalking up concern to, and it's not panic again, but like if it comes down to us and the Niners again in the NFC Championship game, would I say the Eagles should be favored? And if you ask me today, granted we're fresh off the loss, but objectively speaking, no, I do not think the Eagles should or would be favored against the Niners again, even if it is in Philly. That it's just a matter of how we match up against them. And they're healthy, they're clicking on all cylinders, and we have a great offense too. But when it comes down to it, man, that our linebackers in the middle of the field coverage, man, they will expose that all game. So that's my concern. I'm not saying that we can't fix it, or fix it to an extent to where it'll at least be enough to pull off a win. I'm not saying we can't beat them. I'm saying like I think I'd have to favor the Niners. That's the only thing. Now, if it comes down to us and another team in the NFC Championship game, I believe we would win. I believe we should be favored and we would beat anyone else. But this specific Niners team is what I am concerned over. So that's what I'm going to elaborate off of, because I know on Sunday night we talked about a different poll or kickoff statement. I wanted to dive into that because I think that and I think we all agree for this Eagles team, it's Super Bowl or bust. So the number one seed is not, even though that's part of the journey to get there, that's not my end game. I am looking to the Super Bowl, and so this definitely has put up cause for concern. So not panic again. I want to reiterate, not panicking. It's just concern.
PY, we're gonna save Jake for last.
Yeah, I'm not really worried. Like obviously we all wanted to win. Like we didn't want this. We didn't want like a blowout loss like it happened. But like if you kind of look at it, like we're running the gauntlet really well. Not to mention the fact that like they played 121 snaps or something against the Bills in overtime.
No, it was 95.
95. Okay.
I mean, between the last two games, they had 150 snaps.
Yeah. Like that is a lot. Like by the time we played the game, like I'm not making excuses. Linebacker is what it is. We didn't play great offensively. Our defense was crap. But I think a large portion of the fact is you were just gassed. Like you ran out of energy. You could tell in the way that they're trying to tackle. I don't agree with Seth Joyner is that they didn't want to tackle. Like you could see they're clearly trying to make the effort. I just don't think the energy was there. Like I think, especially with a lot of the guys that play, like Blankenship and Slay and Bradbury and guys like that, it is what it is. Do I think that they're going to win the number one seed? Yeah, I still think that they're the best team in the NFC. Every big time team in the NFL this year has gotten blanked at least once. Eagles, Niners, Cowboys, Ravens, like it's all happened. Like one loss isn't going to do anything for me. They've lost 2 games all year. Like that is not enough to make me panic. And other people are panicking. That's fine. Oh my God, it's over. It's this or that. It's not. It's one game. Like you lost one game. That was one team's Super Bowl. It wasn't the Eagles. It was the 49ers. They spent all year crying and moaning and bitching and complaining about that game. You could tell they cared about that game more than breathing. So they got their game, which is nice. We're going to get the Super Bowl.
Okay. Jake, what say ye?
Yeah, I'm going to agree with the poll also. I mean, the Sunday's loss was just a plain good old ass kicking. That's what it was. You can't word it any other way. There's some things on offense that I don't want to say concern me, but still leave me scratching my head. Defense, they weren't there. I mean, you can look at like a lot of things. There was a clip going around. I think it was either before or well after the game. The 49ers were coming to the Eagles side during warmups, and then they were talking to Bradbury, and Bradbury was by himself. And I just thought it was just odd. Like no one came to defend him. I'm like, that's weird. So like, it just felt like the energy wasn't there. just on both sides of the football. Maybe after Devontae Smith got slammed down, there was a bit of energy there, but then obviously we know what Debo did after after that. So I think this is something that this team needed, to be honest. You have a tough opponent coming up next week, and the 49ers are just so good. And we just don't match up well. And that's the concern going into the NFC Championship game if and when we get there and we eventually face them again. That's going to be the concern. But I think just having 2 losses this year, and Dallas being Dallas, this is the time of the year where they fall apart per usual. The 49ers, I think, have maybe 2 tough games left with a division game against the Rams, and then you have you have the Baltimore Ravens on Christmas, which will be interesting. But the 49ers really could run the table. They really could. They're that talented.
They don't have an easy game. Seattle they tried to figure it out. They get Kenneth Walker back.
Right.
We got the linebackers now. I mean,
division games are weird, Pete. You know this. Everybody knows that.
True. And I'm looking at the comments here, and it's like
curiosity.
This game couldn't have started off any better from the standpoint of you got 3 and outs, 2 in a row.
Yep.
And I said this in the chat, and I haven't seen it come up yet. No one said it. I get it. The coverage for Tre'Davious Ward on AJ Brown on the fade. All I'm saying is if Jalen throws it, if you get 10 in that draft out of those 2 possessions, it could be a different ball game. So many different things on it. Tackling, the effort, the defensive scheme couldn't say it got to a point where it wasn't sound. Slade playing off, that's what he's comfortable with, but Desai has to coach that up. Offensively, Jalen had time, kind of did a mush rush. They played it in the back. That's where the route concepts were going into the coverage, and for whatever reason, Brian Johnson didn't make any changes from that standpoint. I feel like Sirianni has to kind of put his coordinator cap on a little bit and start getting more involved in the scheme before game. I'm not sure I think, is it Johnson calling the plays during the game, or is it Sirianni?
It's Johnson.
It is Johnson.
Yeah.
So, and once again, here's the thing. I don't know what we want as a fan base, because it's almost like we want perfection, and you're not going to get that. And PY said a lot of shit I didn't agree with, but he also said a lot of shit that I did agree with, which is weird.
What is there a lot of you don't agree with?
Right. So here's the thing, that Monday night game for us 2 weeks ago after the bye, that was our Super Bowl. We wanted that game more so than the Chiefs. And even in that game, the energy was up. They still did execute as well, right? Like PY said, the 49ers have had this game circled on their calendar ever since the schedule was announced, right? Mm-hmm. They knew what it was. They gave you that listen, like, we're gonna eat today, right? And you knew that. And almost kind of to a point to where I think our squad was just like, all right, like today's just not our day. I mean, now I will say this: Jalen Carter was on the sideline crying, starting to spaz out. So I feel for the Dallas team this upcoming Sunday, because we're getting a motivated team who just got the dog shit kicked out of them, really, for 45 minutes after having the game start their way in the first quarter. Remember, the end of the first quarter, the San Francisco 49ers only had like a negative -3 yards, and we had almost 130, right? So it's a lot of different things from this game that you could take. Things that I saw with Jalen being indecisive. Things on the defensive side. Here's the thing, and I kind of treated this as Seth during the game. I don't know what you could have done from a scheme perspective to change that, because you literally have a gaping hole in the middle of the field because of your linebackers. And Kyle is just listen. People want to call Kyle an in-game choker, this, that, and the third.
You're stealing the words out of my mouth, man.
You could call him whatever you want. If you just line it up, the offensive line, we got the edge. Defensive line is kind of watched. Both defensive lines in the game were pretty much a non-factor.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
At
least our offensive line. Our offensive line did really well. Yes.
Our offensive line didn't really get any push, but I think their defensive line really wasn't a factor from the standpoint where I think Steve Wilkes' ideology during that game and the scheme was kind of just don't get past Jalen, don't let him run, kind of just be a presence. Our coverage and our linebackers are going to take care of it on the back end. But more importantly, we just got outcoached Sunday.
Yep.
Everything that they drew up played into the hands, and I said it to you guys, and I say it here. Even though I just sat here and said, and this will sound contradictory to my own self, even though I sat here and said that the game couldn't have started off any better for us, Ollie Foreman happened on Sunday, where I think Shanahan was just doing a rope-a-dope and was like, what is the side going to do? How is he going to play it? Once he figured that out, ball game over, and then Decide never adjusted, but nor could he adjust. Now I will say, I've said this numerous times this year, this team versus last year's team looks a lot different. The defense, especially in the secondary, is nowhere near. The only thing I could think of that they could have did is take a fucking linebacker off the field altogether, and just put Sidney Brown in the middle of the field, put Blankenship, but Deuce, bring a third safety down, and just go down. And it's so many different things that they could have done on the defensive side, but they just don't have the personnel. I don't know if Shaq Leonard, which we'll get into more as well, don't know if he answered that question or not.
Probably not.
But I don't know from a scheme perspective what the side could have did. Could he press them? Could he did that? But I tried to tell y'all this before, man. Debo he's a different cat when he gets the ball in his hands. But who got them started? Who got the IU got them started on that third and whatever that was it 2nd and 20, and then I remember PY
and he got a 12-yard completion, and I said in our group chat, I'm like, oh no, and PY is like, what? I'm like, that ruined the drive. It ruined
because it's the setup. It's the
Yeah.
setup.
Yep.
Once Kyle got that, he gets the first down. All right, here we go. I know where I'm going. I'm going 2, 3, 4. You feel what I'm saying? And we're just gonna keep rolling. The same. I don't even know what that motion is called. Where Debo was far side, came down, ran. Like he fucking looked like he literally fucking ran in a circle 4 times, and every time out of that, it's a different play. As we said this before, we thought this was going to happen in the NFC Championship game. Kyle makes your linebackers and your safeties have to make a decision. He puts so much window dressing in front of you that if you're not sound at executing, it's going to be a long day. And that's why I say some of that shit with the scheme and Brian Johnson this, Sean decide that they can have it. If you just don't fucking execute, it's not going to matter. Players at some point, you hear Sirianni say, I got to put them in a better position. You can put them in. I will say this: offensive line play like trash. I kind of felt that way, but then you sent that video. Trash. They're not getting any push, and I've been hearing this for 2 or 3. 4
defensive
weeks.
line.
No,
right?
I'm talking about the offensive line too in the run game. They're not getting any push.
Yeah.
They're not getting any push, but I think it's a toll on everybody. Now it doesn't get any easier because guess what? Dallas still has 3 days of extra rest.
Yep.
NFL, thank you for that. Fuck you, by the way.
We knew this.
You know what I mean? You know what I mean? But it's tough, man. Somebody else go because I can sit here. I can talk for the next.
Well, let me get to some of the comments because there are a lot of good ones. I mean, Philly Sports Bake has been going off. He says, he agrees. He talks about the D line isn't getting pressure. And when that happens, the defense is bottom 5. I think their stats are worse than the Giants, Chargers, and Raiders. Greg Miller believes that fatigue is what went wrong. Sometimes you got to live to fight another day. Philly Sports are big. He also says, if you take the fan glasses off, we're going to have to evaluate Nick's pregame messages. This is 5 straight games in which we are losing at halftime. Carter Anderson, we'll get to this, but let's bookmark it. What do you guys think about what David Carr said about Jalen Hurts on the NFL Network? Martian talks about what I kind of alluded to. It won't matter because the Santa Clara Niners are built to expose our weakness. Yeah, the matchup is just very tough. And then Philly Sports are big says the same thing. Agrees to it. Let's see. People that agree to
the Cowboys shredded our defense. Nah, that's different.
Yeah, I don't agree with that.
Philly Sports are big. It says this has to be Slay's last year. I don't care that he's captain. I don't care what PFF grades him well. I don't care. Over the last 2 seasons, he's had 1 great game against Justin Jefferson. He says he looks old. I don't know what else to say. He looks like he doesn't want to tackle. He plays soft. I got a lot of backlash from my buddies when I said I didn't want him back and wanted to draft the corner. Let me say this. I don't know if you guys want to chime in. Also, Slay isn't what he was.
No.
Neither is Bradbury. And even if Slay isn't what he was, he's still the best option we have right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
That is absolutely fact. That is like we have no other choice. We have no other choice. Now, we addressed this. We all addressed this a few weeks ago.
Mhm.
In hindsight, was it the wrong move to sign both Slay and Bradbury? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
We're saying Bradbury the drop off is significant. All right.
Oh, yeah,
So
big time.
maybe it probably would have been the smarter move to sign just Slay and then get another corner, draft another corner high, possibly. You know, like I forget who was available at the 30-something pick where you took Nolan Smith. Maybe instead of Nolan Smith, you could draft a corner. I don't know,
Joey
but
Porter.
maybe that would have been a better route to go than re-signing Bradbury. But even though Slay isn't what he was, he's still the best thing we've got. I don't know,
which is also somewhat a fault of its own. Not really, but you can kind of look at it that way because once again, that money wasn't meant necessarily for Slay. That was meant for Chauncey.
Mm-hmm.
No, the money for Bradbury was meant for
Chauncey.
Yeah.
Chauncey.
Yeah, that was meant for Chauncey.
They weren't going to go with Bradbury until Chauncey backed out. Then they went with Bradbury. Slay had the whole thing with Slay was separate. It just kind of happened. So then we cut him and then brought him back. Like, yeah, that was a whole separate thing. But yeah, it's the Bradbury thing in hindsight is probably
So we can argue whether or not like we should have re-signed Bradbury. Like obviously he's not playing as well as he did last year. The Slay thing, like my issue with the Slay stuff is like he's played really well this year. Like he's not what he was a few years ago. But what will happen is people will see one play and wait, oh my God, you see that? Slay's lost a step. Meanwhile, he gave up 33 yards all game. Like, and
To
people
who?
look.
You talking about Sunday?
Yeah, PFF was talking about he was.
Listen, I'm gonna tell you this, and then you can run with it. I don't give a fuck how many yards he gave up. He had no chance against IU.
None.
He was dead in the water.
But at the same time, I can't. I think Pete, me, and you will agree on this. I can't really say I'm surprised. It's Brandon Ayuk.
Exactly.
He's like arguably a top 3 to 5 route runner in the league. He's one of the most underrated wide receivers. He
wasn't that good when he was drafted.
No,
exactly.
he wasn't.
No, he wasn't. He was a project. He's gotten a lot better. He was in the doghouse his second year. Right. So like he's come a long way. But he's someone right now that people like, we mention it all the time when it comes to Niners.
He's no longer a Niner.
When it comes to the Niners weapons, he's the best pure receiver they have. Debo is a weapon. He's a running back playing wide receiver, and I mean that as a compliment. I don't mean that as a slight on Debo. I mean that as a compliment. But
you get the ball in Debo's hands, he showed you it.
He'll make plays.
What are you gonna do? Yeah,
he'll make plays.
But in terms of being a wide receiver, an actual wide receiver, Ayuk is legit. So I can't even put that on Slay. Like. Slay is clearly past his prime, but at the same time, how many corners would have done worse on Ayuk? I will say that too. Like he's
and the thing is, like this is the luxury that San Fran has. They didn't have to constantly keep force feeding Ayuk. They had other options, right?
Mm-hmm.
And to PY's point, I get it with Slay, but the days where Slay could just line up across you and keep you and be in tow step for step. You saw that when Debo just ran away from him on a 70-yard touchdown. That Nicholas Warren had the worst tackle attempt I've ever seen this year, right? So, but also to the point that I think Martian said it, you kind of said it, dude. They don't match up well. But now the next matchup, if they get to that point, that's the real one. Because we got one, you got one. Now, that's where it really goes into coaching.
Yep.
What you're going to try to do different. I saw Hamilton Harris said Hurts got exposed. Hurts got exposed because he's indecisive. I don't know what the fuck he was looking at. Constantly trying to make the play. Here's the thing, Philly Sports Debate. You have to worry about just them. Maybe Detroit. I'm not concerned with Dallas. And the reason why, and I saw somebody said Purdy said this. You could tell when Purdy is what he is, right? You could tell when you have coaching, scheme-wise, matched with talent, personnel, and execution. That's what happened to you Sunday. We go back to what Josh Allen did, right? Josh Allen did a lot of that shit by himself. And I had said last week's show, Purdy can't do that, right? Dak, when he came here, when they won 28-23, 6 yards, 30 seconds, whatever left, Dak played superhuman. He's going to have to do that again Sunday. Dallas can't do and execute what San Fran did. Because if they did, Jerry Jones would have fucking gave Kyle Shanahan a blank check and would fucking retire, and they fucking have Super Bowl. You see what I'm saying? It's not one of the same. It's trendy because of how we're playing, right? We were trending in a certain way, playing with fire, but guess what? We just got fucking burned. So you have to put it on your team now, on your coaches to get their shit together, and now they're motivated now. You know what I mean? And you need your trenches to play like they did last year for this one game, and then and then the Seattle game Monday night, December 18th. This is Christmas, and then after that, you win those two, then you can fucking go on cruise control because you got the Cardinals and you got the Giants.
So like it's to the whole thing. I know Philly sports bank is really like he's feeling it right now, and I totally understand. I totally understand. I don't blame you. I understand where the worry is, and there is, like I said in my opening statement, there's concern. What the reason why I haven't reached panic yet, again, is because this team has shown they can rebound. They're resilient, okay, and they have proof. Like dating back to last year, they have proof where they have bounced back. All right, so I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt because they've earned the benefit of the doubt from us to be able to figure things out. I know there's 2 new coordinators from last year, but even with them, they still are under the guidance of Nick Sirianni and a lot of people that are still in the same building. And you have to be able to say, like, hey, like there are things we can improve on from an execution standpoint that we didn't on Sunday. Okay, on the defensive side, yes, the linebackers in coverage are a huge problem. We've said that ad nauseum for several weeks and several months. But the thing is, what if our pass rush starts working again? It's a different game. And so I'm not guaranteeing it, but it will. But is it out of the realm of possibility that our pass rush will start to click again? No, because we know that we have talented guys. So if our pass rush starts working again and it starts getting home, you don't think that would have affected the outcome? Now, what if I'm not saying Shaq Leonard is going to come in and turn everything around, but what if he is at least an upgrade from what we have at linebacker, even a slight upgrade
worse than Christian Ellis
to where even if it's a slight upgrade where at least he's not completely out of position and he's smart enough to be in the right spots most of the time. Okay, he's not going to make splash plays, but what if he's at least being able to affect a few plays a game and turn around a positive? Like, this is the thing when it comes to the Niners. Okay, you can't expect our defense or any defense in the league for that matter to be able to completely stop them. You're not going to stop them. The key is we have to be able to make just a few key plays a game to turn it. It's going to be a close game. If we're playing the top of our game, the key is keeping it close and on defense, making just a few key plays, even if it's 1 or 2 turnovers that will sway the game in our favor. That is the key. And I think that is possible. That's why I'm not panicking, because I think there are things you can do, like a better pass rush, like, confusing Brock Purdy and muddying the picture a little bit more, playing more aggressive, like Jake, like you always say, playing a little bit more aggressive coverage, forcing the issue a little bit more. Those things can lead to some mistakes to where that will help the Eagles pull off an upset victory over the Niners if there is a rematch in the NFC Championship game. That is why I'm not panicking.
And it would be an upset at this point. Anywhere that you play, if they see them anywhere, it doesn't matter. The Eagles going to be underdogs.
Yep.
Anybody, if they lie, there's not a team in the NFL right now that they would be underdogs to, if healthy. Anywhere.
Yeah,
they
deserve to be the best team in the league right now. They deserve to be.
So I see a lot of people in the comments like freaking out over Dallas and San Fran and stuff like that. And I could maybe agree with that, if not for the fact that we beat Miami, we beat Dallas, we beat Kansas City, we beat Buffalo. If we had lost to San Francisco in the regular season last year, that would be a cause for concern because that would be our big loss. Because we didn't beat anyone. The only person we beat last year was the Vikings. This year, we beat all those really good teams. So that gives me more reason to trust this team as opposed to last year, especially in the regular season.
Right. No, it 100%. But here's it: you're still not. You don't look right. And if you really start to dive into, don't look at what the coordinator scheme is, this, that, the third. There's just certain things they're not doing this year that they were doing last year. It's as simple as that, and that not even just from a coordinator perspective, just from a performance and execution perspective, from the team itself, from the players. It's just not the same, and you're getting played differently. You're seeing different defenses, right? Because you have different weapons, and you're being ineffective at running the ball for whatever reason, which they have to figure out, which I think will open up some things for them, right? It's just one of those things. It sucks, but this wasn't just a reality check for them. It was a reality check for the fans. Like the 49ers showed you, this is what we were. This is everything we taught. Just imagine, right? Anything in your life that you've ever done to where you had it circled on your schedule or circled on your calendar. It was a task. It was an objective for you. It could be work related. It could be personal related, it could be just an intramural basketball game, little league, anything, right? Think about anything you ever did in a walk of life with competition, right? And you said, I feel like I'm better than them. I know I wasn't my best that day, but if I ever get the opportunity again, I'm gonna show out. That's what happened, right? That's what happened, and it helps. It truly helps when you literally have the best linebacker in the league, the best running back in the league, arguably the best left tackle in the league. And when it comes to an X and O's, and if everything goes as it's supposed to go to, the best offensive game planner in the league. Yeah, I said it because once again, we didn't do anything Sean Desai didn't do anything from his perspective to make Kyle call audible, to make Kyle adjust. Kyle was like, okay, I got you here. I'm going to see you going to do this. I'm going to do this. Everything Kyle did worked. And we had no answer. So if that's the case, you know what I mean? There's nobody in the league that's better at all. Hence the point, 28-3 in the Super Bowl, right? Shit went left when they had the fumble. And then Kyle was fucked up ever since. This is what it is. But, yeah, are we running commercials? Let's go.
Yeah.
PY, listen, I stole it at the beginning. So go ahead and lead us into the commercials, PY. We'll come back on the other side. We'll talk about week 13 around the league. We'll talk about the Shaq Leonard signing. We'll talk about what David Carr had to say. Go ahead, PY, lead us into the commercials.
Royal Billiard and Recreation, proudly celebrating 40 years and our new, bigger showroom.
Twice the size and twice the fun.
More pool tables by Olhausen. More dartboard sets, including custom reclaimed backboards. More bar and kitchen stools that can change a room.
And more bars, including pre-built and custom.
Hot tubs, skee ball, shuffleboard, outdoor,
and fun.
Royal Billiard and Recreation, your ultimate game room store. Now located on Bethlehem Pike in Colmar.
In our family, food is our daily bond. My Nonna, affectionately called Mama by many, found solace and joy in the kitchen, sharing her love through delicious creations. She turned her culinary passion into a flourishing business alongside her husband and sons in 1983. Celebrating 40 years is a testament to our exceptional team, friends, family, and beloved customers. With gratitude, we look forward to the future, expanding our brand to share the highest quality Italian food and wine nationwide. Our heartfelt thanks to everyone who has played a part in our story. Grazie mille.
Hats.com is the premier destination for quality and fashion-forward hats and more, with designs for every style and trend. Locally based and run by Philly sports team fanatics, Hats.com can help you elevate your hat John. Utilize the easy-to-use guides at Hats.com to find your perfect size and style, and shipping and returns are free. Hats.com. Find yourself in a hat. Use code Philly for 15% off your order. Hats.com.
We'll be right
Shout out to
back.
all the beautiful sponsors of A2D, Hats.com. Go get your hat drawn, elevated, Royal Billiards. You can visit them once you get your hat, play a little pool, get a little spa. Then after all that, if you want it by the bedside or by the pool table, you get your little eats, your little eater, your little charcuterie board, get your little fresh mozz, little fresh mozzarella. Whatever Italian treat you can have, cannoli. I think Carlino's has it all. 2 locations, Westchester and Arbor. So, I know there's a comment on the other side that Chuck's wanted to get to from Keys. I don't know if we have
I'm
it.
trying to find it. Yeah. Oh, there it is. Unpopular opinion, but I feel like a lot of the offensive issues are from the QB. He doesn't take what the defense gives him. Ton of plays he would have had game open for 4 yards. He just ignores them. I mean, I know Pete, you've been saying that. I'm not even shown. I think. I know you've had criticism of Jalen, and I agree that Hurts hasn't looked good, especially that game. Like there were definitely things that you want to blame Brian Johnson for Hurts stumbling on that second possession. That's Hurts. Hang on to the ball too long. Yep. What I will say to Keys' comment is that there are plays where Gainwell is wide open, but he's the check down. So if Hurts, again, I didn't watch the game. So oftentimes with horrible losses like this, I just don't have the motivation to watch it. So I kind of defer to other people when it comes to it. Maybe later in the week I'll watch it. But you have to know what the reads are. So I can't say for sure if dumping it down to Gainwell was always the right decision. Maybe it was, but on the TV copy, you can't see what routes are developing down the field. So you can't always assume just because the check down is wide open that that's the where you have to go. Like there's sometimes you have to go through the read. So I will say that, but I don't mind the criticism of Jalen. He's got to be better.
Yeah, you can't. Almost, and then Keys, if you're still watching, first and foremost, everybody that's in here, hit that like, hit that subscribe. Thank you for rocking with us as always. When I look at Jalen and how he played that game, it's almost like he became a shot quarterback. Like he went like a big, and like the psychology of it, right? We've seen him elevate as a passer. You've seen that, right? I think his next step is from a mental perspective is you have to. The same way Kyle did it and the same way other great coaches, you have to set it up to take your shots. And outside of the scheme, you can do that because then if you hit 4 or 5 checkdowns in a row, those 4 yards, 5 yards, that keeps the chains moving, right? That's going to force Steve Wilks to do something different. Then you take your shot. Almost similar to almost kind of similar to what he did against Spags in Kansas City. Like it was – you wait for your shots. You wait for that look that you want. Then you hit it, right? Well, in this game, for whatever reason, we never got to that point because we went from being up 6 to being down, right? And they could never get it back on track. And I was the biggest momentum shift in the game. Obviously, Greenlaw, Big Dom, however you want to view that situation. Forget that was coming off. People look at that incident singularly, right? But you forget 2 plays before that, Jalen legit got hit out of bounds. Yeah, that should have been a call. The sidelines was already rowdy about that. And at that time, the game was 21-6. So then after the 15-yard penalty, Greenlaw gets thrown out, Dom gets thrown out. It's 21-13. It's a whole new ball game. And then boom, the slant, Debo, 70-something yards, 28-13 in a matter of a minute, 90 seconds or so. And that's when you really felt defeated. So it was an ebb and flow game, and then they threw a punch and a haymaker that we just couldn't respond to, right? It just kind of snowballed from there.
Yeah.
So I'm not sitting here saying Seattle's a cakewalk, especially
I don't think any of us, any of us
in Seattle, especially in Seattle.
Yeah.
Yeah, Joe, anyone that's saying that is like, you've got to question, because Seattle almost beat the Cowboys. I know almost doesn't count, but you've seen what we've been saying about the Seahawks. When they're not beating themselves, they have talent.
Yeah,
they can go toe to toe with almost.
And they should have won the game last Thursday.
They should have. Yep.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
and this is like, I will say this: even if we lose Sunday, in the event that we lose Sunday, which I don't think we will, Dallas is not winning FCs. They got a gauntlet after.
Yeah,
they still have to play. They still have to play the Bills. They still have to play the Dolphins, and they still have to play the Lions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're not winning those three. That's not happening.
They'll lose two of those three. That one of the teams they'll get.
Yeah, but it's the Niners you have to worry about.
Right, it's the Niners. You don't want to have to go. Well, kind of almost. It's like, hey, really, we're sitting here saying this from a scheme perspective, but at the same time, this like if a man to another man wants it more, who's going to win? Right.
Right.
So, I mean, and you literally, if you want to take anything away from Sunday's game, and this will make you feel, any better, in a way, personnel wise, I think we match up really, really well, right? Our scheme just was shit. Our scheme was just shit. It was that's the only thing I can think. Everything that they could have did, they Tiger Woods this, bro.
Mm-hmm.
They plotted, they strategized what they were going to do, how they were going to do it, and it worked.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then we had no counterpunch.
We had none.
We had no counterpunch. So, I mean, just like Jalen says, he's got to flush it. Joseph Roskowski says if PY got Purdy's top five, we'll lose it. He basically headed to Debo, CFC, and Jennings. Got 300 passing yards, 4 TDs. Dude didn't make a single impressive throw. Even almost was a wide open IU on the TD that didn't drop, and that Kelly did at the Phantom sweat offside. I still haven't seen the other angle for that. For the NFL not to have an angle of the other side, from down is a little tricky.
It's
but
a drop. Like everyone and their mother knows it's a drop.
Well, didn't they show it once when we came back for a commercial from?
They showed it from that side that was from the far side, but you never had the near side down the line.
Gotcha.
To actually see, you never saw it where from the snap side.
Yeah,
where Sweat would be on the far side.
I mean, from the one angle they showed after they returned from commercial break, to me it was enough to say it's not.
It's too close.
Inclusive. Yeah, it's too close. So I have no problem with that. Like here's the thing about Brock Purdy is like I am not going to go out and say he's like an elite quarterback or anything like that. Far from it. He has his weaknesses, and to Joe's point, and to what I sent you guys that tweet about that chart, I think a few days ago, and none of you replied. So I'm going to say it now. What that chart kind of showed was that it showed like it was what do you call those graphs? It was a graph that showed like, all right,
who's wide open, who's getting yacked,
who's wide open, and who's throwing accurate balls. And on one end, it had Hurts showing our receivers get very little separation, but he throws accurate passes. On the other end, it showed Brock Purdy, and he's one of those where he's throwing to receivers that are really wide open a lot of the times, but his accuracy is not as on point.
Right.
Like, I want to make it clear, Brock Purdy is the reason why he's a good quarterback, and he's a good quarterback. But the reason why he's a good quarterback is not because of his accuracy. He's not that accurate of a quarterback. What makes him a good quarterback is because his processing is really good. He makes good decisions, and he goes through reads very quickly. Hence, what a big part of what Kyle likes in his quarterbacks to go through and process things very quickly. That's why Purdy is a good quarterback, and he does push the ball down the field when he has to. Against the Eagles, that wasn't the game plan. We played off. Okay, we gave them. This is why the Niners were able to do what they do, because we played off too much, and they took the underneath stuff. And because our pass rush wasn't in there, so Purdy had the time to be able to go through all of his reads. He wasn't under pressure consistently. So, even though he didn't complete passes, further down the field, the thing is he didn't need to.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't like sticking up for Purdy because I do think he gets overrated sometimes. But I'm also going to be real and say, hey, like, Purdy did his job and he did it really well against us.
He did.
I'm not gonna hate. I'm not gonna hate on it. Like, he did what the game plan was to beat us. But he's also shown in other games throughout the season that he can push it downfield if needed. He will throw down. He's not like Jimmy G. He will throw it down the field when he needs to. That's actually one of the things that like has separated him from Jimmy G is his willingness to be aggressive when called upon. So,
Went into David Carr's comments. I'm going to give the floor to PY because I didn't watch the video. So PY, go ahead and tell us what I think you called him DDC, David Duke Carr, whatever you called him.
That's his middle name. That's his middle name.
Oh wow. Okay.
His full name is David Duke. Emphasis on Duke Carr. So, like, I can't believe this man went on national television. He gets paid. He gets a paycheck to say, and I quote, "The Eagles should sit Hurts despite the fact that he's a top 3 MVP candidate for Marcus Mariota because he can run the offense just as good. Because Jalen Hurts, and I quote, can't read a defense in a drop back offense. Are you out? Excuse me, Chucks. I'm using my one F word here. Are you out of your fucking mind? You're going to tell me with a straight face that one of the best drop back quarterbacks in the NFL right now, one of the best pocket passers this season, can't read defenses? Are you serious? Maybe it's because of the fact that, like, you got knocked on your ass 267 separate times for a crappy expansion team. Like, maybe your brain is so concussed from all those CTEs you were getting in the early 2000s where, like, those are coma hits. Like, maybe you can't understand what the NFL game is. Marcus Mariota couldn't run offenses in Tennessee, Atlanta, Vegas, and wherever else he was. Like, I like Marcus. He's a solid dude. He's a decent backup. But this is what it is. This is who he is. Like, he is not a franchise quarterback. And if you somehow think that, like, he's randomly going to be able to, like, get you wins over Dallas and Seattle, like, you're out of your freaking mind. Like, Hurts isn't 100% healthy right now, but he's much healthier than he was 2, 3, 4 weeks ago. Like, you have to be dumb as dirt. You're going to say on national television, he can't read defenses. Like, I don't know what to do. As the boardroom would say, I don't know what to tell you.
Right. I mean, that's kind of what he said to the audience watching. But I wouldn't say he can't read defenses, but he needs to be able to make a decision. He needs a process like Purdy.
Yeah.
That's where Purdy has an edge over Hurts.
Yeah.
When it comes to processing and making a decision where to go, yes, he needs to get better at that.
I think that, as usual, there are things that I agree with PY's rant, but things I don't agree with. I will not. I don't think Hurts, when you're talking about a pure drop back pocket passer, I wouldn't say Hurts is top 3 to 5 in the league when it comes to just that. But the thing is, what makes Hurts a great quarterback is that there's more to the QB position than just being a pure pocket passer. Like, that's what I've been. I told you in the green room before the show. Like, that's what I have a big gripe with when it comes to Steven Ruiz and his rankings on the Ringer. Like, he looks so strictly and heavily on pocket passing, but doesn't account for a lot of the other factors that go into QB play. So it's, I think that what you guys, like, what you just said, he has to process quicker. He has to. That is absolutely correct. What I don't like, what I really, really didn't like, is David Carr trying to make it seem like Marcus Mariota is so much better of a passer than Hurts is. And to Steven Ruiz's point, he tried to say that he said that Hurts is better, but not by much compared to Mariota. Like, since when did accuracy not be a part of being a passer? Because last time I checked, Marcus Mariota's accuracy was god awful. He was
Tebow-esque.
He was getting outplayed by Tanner McKee because Tanner McKee was more accurate in the preseason. Do we not remember that? Like he was, and you don't. It doesn't have to be preseason against third stringers or second stringers for you to see that. Oh yeah, Tanner McKee is throwing a more accurate balls than freaking Marcus Mariota. Marcus Mariota's accuracy
for Matt Ryan and Carson Wentz to come in here. Like that's how bad Mariota was playing.
Mariota's accuracy is really bad. So to say that, hey, like he's a better pocket passer than Hurts, no. Like even with the processing, how am I going to say? Even though the processing isn't high level like the other top QBs, we can't argue the accuracy by Hurts when he throws. Jalen Hurts is a very accurate quarterback. Like one of the best throws of the night, I think that, I don't know if you guys remember it, that needle in the haystack to Devontae Smith on the right sideline.
That was ridiculous.
You guys remember that?
That was ridiculous.
Oh my God. Like, and there have been plenty of other highly accurate throws that Jalen Hurts has been throwing last year to this year. And I mean, if you just got to look at the Super Bowl too. Like you cannot look at a big game like that and say Jalen Hurts isn't a good pocket passer.
Right.
Like accuracy is absolutely part of being a passer. So I don't, it's really bad. And like when, possibly is it clickbait? Possibly. Like, you know, NFL Network has been on the decline for years. And like, I don't know if it's clickbait or not, but analysis like that by David Carr, that's just embarrassing. It's a horrible look for NFL Network. That is piss poor,
especially coming from a former quarterback himself.
Yeah,
it's just it's not a good look. Not a good look at all.
Yeah, Jacob Hensler says, you know what's funny? I never see national media turn on a team like the Eagles this week. Was David Carr calling for Dak's backup after they got destroyed by the 49ers? No. You got Steven saying NFC champ last year was delegitimized. One thing is true. No one likes us. I mean, they've had these feelings about the team, and that's the trend, and but they were just winning. So it's the loss, and they kind of feel validated. But at the same time, what I don't like is this like we don't have a chance to respond. Like we don't, like this is just who we are. Like Sunday was a reflection of who we are. That's how we're going to play the next 5 games. And because, and I go on record and say this again, Jacob just mentioned when Dallas got trashed by the Niners, they haven't played as bad since.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So why are we not getting that at least for this week? Because these next 2, this week for sure, Seattle, the next game, we'll have to see, right? But why are we not getting that same credence, right? But this is the thing. If Philly, you got to go out there and earn it. You got to go out there and prove it. And I will say this, in a big spot, I don't expect Jalen to play the same way he did Sunday. I expect him to bounce back in his home state and ball out. Now, will that be enough for a win? We'll see. Like I said, once again, if you go back and you look at Dallas versus San Fran, and you could tell me what Dallas can do on the level that San Fran can. Because that's the only way. If you see in this game as a loss, if you feel as if all of a sudden now Dallas is better than the Eagles, right? Then yeah, you can see it. But I don't see it. I mean, they got CD, cool.
Back to CD. That's what I'll say.
That's it. I mean, their O-line is playing better. The defensive line they kind of moved DeMarcus Lawrence around on the inside. But at the end of the day, you still gave up 35. Should have gave up 40-something to Seattle. And Seattle's offense before that had been pedestrian.
Yeah, you can, as you can see, you can attack that defense still down the field. Like if your pass protection can hold up long enough, and Seattle's offensive line isn't even that great, but they played a really good game against Dallas, and they gave Geno Smith enough time to be able to get those shots downfield, which we love to do. Obviously, we all know that. Right. So if our offense can be able to do so, you can hit those shots. So I think you can attack Deron Bland as great of a season he's had, and he deserves credit because was it 5 or 6 pick sixes? I don't remember. 5 pick sixes?
5, but he's
five,
this year's
it's
Draymond.
crazy.
He takes a lot of chances.
He takes chances. He can be beat down the field. He can absolutely be beat down the field, and Seattle show that.
Yo, Bryce.
Yo, Bryce.
Bryce.
What I will say, especially going into in the week against Dallas, there's been a lot of talk, and I told you guys earlier, and I showed you, like, there's been a lot of talk about the lack of Brian Johnson not running the ball enough. And he talked about it in his press conference, and what's the issues, like why aren't we running the ball more? And I think we all agree, like, we do want to see more running the ball. Like having Swift only touch the ball a few times in the first half, running the ball like that, it's inexcusable. So I think we're all in agreement there.
Yeah.
Now I've seen, like, again, this conversation topic pops up on Twitter or online all the time. Another thing, like, people are asking, and Bryce just perfect timing. Perfect timing. I'll give Penny a shot. Like, okay, guys.
Here's the problem: he's shy.
That is exactly.
This is the issue.
Yep.
I don't know why people think, like, this is there's a lot of layers to this. First, let's talk about Penny first, okay? Penny is on the team because he's been with us in the spring, okay? He was signed as a low risk, high reward signing. Obviously hasn't panned out because obviously what we've seen from him in the preseason and training camp, he doesn't look like the same running back. He just doesn't have the explosiveness or the juice. He doesn't look the same. And I'm pretty sure the coaches see that every single week at practice, right? So we're agreeing there. But he's on the team still as the 4th running back because we carry 4 running backs. We've carried 4 running backs on the roster for God knows how long. That's been the thing, that we carry 4 running backs. Okay, so we carry 4 running backs. He's RB4. That's it. Like, he's RB4. Why don't we bring someone else in? Because who are you going to bring in to replace Rashad Penny? Like, who's going to be the clear-cut upgrade over Rashad Penny right now? I don't think there is anyone. I'll just say to save you time from looking on Spot Rack's list of free agents.
So what would you say, in your opinion, is the key to trying to fix this running game?
So it's not, people are thinking like, oh, you need Penny because you need a power runner. It's not. The issue with this run game, it's not as much person. Does personnel have something to do with it? Sure. Like, I'm sure with Penny being the only big back, there are plays where he could, pound it for a few more yards, be more physical of a runner. Sure. Like, that's definitely some part of it. But the main issue is schematic. Okay. Like, last year we ran a lot of our philosophy and backbone of our run game was the zone reads, QB draws, stuff like that, out of shotgun. We had so much success with that because Jalen Hurts was such a dynamic threat as a runner. He was so lethal, and we saw that over and over again last year. This year, because of that injury, it's that he hasn't been the same. He's still a good runner, but I don't think would anyone deny that he doesn't look like the same type of runner as last year. Would anyone deny that? No. Okay, none of us would deny that, right? So because of that, defenses aren't honoring it because he's not the same threat. Like, all these QB draws, all these zone reads that aren't going anywhere. And it's probably because Hurts isn't as dangerous of a threat as a runner as he was last year. So because of that, when you're basing your run structure and your run game and your run concepts consistently off of plays out of the shotgun, it's not going to be as it was last year. It's not the same. You don't have that threat. Right. What the Eagles have to do is they have to start looking at other run concepts. They have to start going under center or even in pistol. If Jalen still wants to line up in shotgun, a few yards behind the beyond the center, go in pistol. Make it so that the running backs can start running downhill. Go tap into other run concepts to where you're not relying on QB runs. This offensive line, who also is at their fault too, because they're not executing. Pete, you alluded to it. Like, they're not getting any push in the run game right now. Okay, so part of it is absolutely on them and execution.
The physicality
it's not there. So they have to be better at the run blocking aspect. That's absolutely 100% true. But to me, the biggest solution to this whole run game, it's not the number of runs. It's not so much the number of runs, because early on in that game, we weren't, even when we were running it, we weren't running it well. We were averaging 2 point something yards a carry. It was inefficient.
Right.
And because it's inefficient, that probably has something to do with the coaches going away from it so easily, because they know it's not working. So what is the main solution? You have to find other avenues, other ways to get the run game going by running different concepts. Start getting under center, using that play action. Just even if it's just once or twice a game. I don't care if Jalen Hurts doesn't really like play action under center. Even if it's once, you will keep the defense honest. Okay, right. Do that. Run out of pistol. Get the running backs running downhill. You do bootlegs. Do start running more counter, more power concepts, more duo. Like, start getting. You can still pull. There are so many concepts where the lineman can still pull Kelsey on different things. But the thing is, you can't base your philosophy and backbone of your run game anymore on QB run concepts and running out of shotgun. It's not working. It's not. There has to be a different thing. And remember that the video I sent to you guys, and Pete, you alluded to before, right? Where Mina Kimes and Dan Orlovsky went to a deep breakdown of what's going wrong with this Eagles offense. And Mina Kimes was talking about we're facing the least amount of single high coverage. Okay, so that's why
it's harder for us boxes, bro. What does that mean?
That means okay. So if
you're wanting you to run the ball, you can't run it.
Exactly. You have lighter boxes. So not only are they doing their best to take away the deep shots, right? Because if you're playing split safeties more, you don't those safeties are covering the deep, are defending against the deep shots. So if they're taking away the deep shots more often, what does that do? That leaves one less in the box. You have to run it, guys. But it's not about the number of times you run it. You have to show you're efficient. Okay? Yeah. Like, what is the use of running it 20 to 30 times a game if you're going to average 2 yards a carry? Right. I think that's the thing that people aren't diving too much into. It's not you can't just say, "Oh, you have to run it more." No, that's only a tip of the iceberg. You have to run it better. Yeah, you have to run it better. That's
the run design. The run design needs to change.
It has to change. If it doesn't change, you're going to continue to struggle to get this run game going, and you're going to continue to struggle to get this offense to be as dominant as it was last year. You have to tap into something else, and it's in their playbook. You guys remember beginning of the year, like they were running pistol. They were running some play on the side.
We haven't seen that in a while.
We haven't seen it in a while. So tap into it.
It's just, and I'm happy you brought this up, Chucks, too, because at the beginning of the year, I mean, obviously game one, it was the Gainwell show, and
game two as well.
Game two, what do you call it? Game two, that's when Swift blew up, and then they're like, oh, look at this guy, we actually have a running back, and then they started running the ball, and then obviously since I think. I can't. It's been so long. I can't even tell you the last time that they. Well, I guess you could say the Kansas City game, but even then, that's going back.
A lot of that stuff came out of the backfield with the pass.
Right. So it's just. And again, I've said this before. I say it in the chat every week during a game, and I'm not blaming Brian Johnson, but I just feel like there are just things on the offense. They make it harder than it needs to be.
Yep. It's just there's no consistency.
Yeah, whether it be short yardage situations and they always try and go for the deep shot, or it's just pass. And I get it's Jeffrey Lurie's concept. He wants to do it. We won the Super Bowl with it. I understand it, but you have to mix it up every now and again too. We ran the ball to win the Super Bowl also, but it's just I don't know, to have these issues. And like I said, when we were watching the game, I'm like, there's only so many times you can be down at half and constantly come back before it starts to bite you. And it bit us big time, but it's just, I hope, and I'll finish on this because I got to get up early in the morning and I'll head out, but I hope this is just not necessarily like a wake up call, but like things have to change. things have to change on offense and they have to change things up on defense. I hope that's the case. I hope the Eagles win on Sunday. Boys, I'll see you next week, and hopefully we're talking about an Eagles win.
Peace.
Later, fellas.
So the thing that just pisses me off about the run game is, like, obviously, like, just running it more isn't going to do anything. But, like, I honestly think, like, if you just gave DeAndre Swift a few more carries in the first half, like, it would give him some confidence. It would get him going. There's so many times in the first half against the Niners where I watched. I'm just like, why isn't just give a run here? Like, it's second and 6. Like, perfect time to run the ball. And then Hurts trips. Like, obviously, like, that doesn't happen all the time, but, like, there's just so many times where it's just like, it's obvious that you need a run here. 1st and 10, just run the ball to at least see what you're going to be able to get away with. You know what I mean? Like, there's just so many times where they try and outsmart themselves, where it's like, oh, it's 31. Let's throw like an 80-yard bomb on the left hash to AJ Brown, and it misses entirely. When all you had to do was, like, run it on, like, 3rd and 2. You know what I mean? Like, it's just
right. So I'm going to speak to Jacob's comment right. He says it was obvious that the 49ers were rushing with gap discipline and not letting Jalen outside. The pocket was easy to scheme up a run block because their rush is predictable. They're committed to playing coverage. They were daring us to run the ball. Would have been great time to pull a backside guard and have the back lead and let Jalen burn and run in the football. All right. So, Jacob, that's very good. Put your Twitter handle in here because we're going to send you a video that's 7 minutes long, specifically speaking about Sunday the 49ers. This works if another team does it. This doesn't work when you have 2 of the fucking top 5 linebackers on your team in the league. When you have Fred Warner, you can shoot the gap and do whatever the fuck you want. You can pull the guard. Fred Warner there's no other linebacker in the league like that. And with Jalen being hurt, he's not going to beat Fred Warner. Now, would it be positive? Yes, maybe. But there is plays from all 22 that shows you that that's what they tried to do. And the 49ers were quicker to react and stop it. But that also speaks to Chuck's point. If that's the case, then you have to find a different way because we all can say too high safety, lighter in the box. You got to find a way to run the ball. Maybe even find a way to run a screen or do something, right? Do something. So it's not ideal. From the negative, maybe let's go to a fruitful positive, maybe a positive. And that's the signing of Shaq Leonard. We all found out Monday, yesterday, like early afternoon, they agreed to sign a 1-year deal. I think he'll help you in the run game immediately.
Yep.
Right? If he can stay healthy. Instinctful linebacker, nowhere near where he was before because of the back surgery. Once you start getting back surgeries, bro, it's tough. It's tough. Yeah. But if they can kind of hold this water until either if he stays healthy and Cunningham comes back or N'Kobe comes back.
I think N'Kobe's out for the year.
He's out. Liz Frank is out for the year? Yeah. Okay. Morrow ain't it, bro.
Well, Morrow's like he's an attacking linebacker. Like his excellent. He's good when you have him like blitzing. You know what I mean?
Can we invent a new defense like 2 linebacker, 3 safeties, and 1 corner? Like, can we? Like,
I'm pretty sure there's that's already a.
I think Morrow has been good this year. He's just not great in pass. Like, that's just not his thing. Like, I think he's been a decent linebacker, but like, there's always going to be that time where they target the hell out of him.
Well, and then
I think Cunningham has surpassed him now. Earlier in the year,
I'll agree with that.
Yeah.
I also don't think having Christian Ellison there was a good idea.
No,
especially considering you saw the impact. Well, this is another thing. Like, you have these young guys who, if you watch early on in the game, were having success. Like, Nolan Smith was flying off the edge. Cindy Brown was showing his effectiveness. And you just ignored it and you threw Christian Ellis back out there. And they're just like, oh, man. Shanahan is looking at that like a dog seeing a juicy steak. Like, he's going to town. Like, this is
like. And I was just going to say, you brought up Cindy Brown. Kudos to Chuck because he's been saying it. The Brown twins, and it says run away from Brown, run away from Brown, run away from Brown. Brown comes off the field, gash.
Yeah.
Gash. So if Shanahan is designed in place to not go to have you involved, you may be on to something, man. Like honestly, Reed and Sydney may be your safeties for the future. And honestly, this is just me. I don't remember seeing 31's number on any TV shot Sunday.
I saw him on one play. He made like a tackle on Kittle.
I'm not saying he's not effective. It's just maybe this is the second year in a row we made a trade and then the player is just not impactful. We did it last year with Robert Quinn, and now this year you did it with Kevin Byard. Maybe you should have just gave up extra whatever they wanted for Jalen Johnson and then find a way to work out the money in the offseason.
Well, Joe says that Shaq Leonard is this year's Robert Quinn, except for Shaq Leonard got signed but not traded.
I don't know. Do you tell me the impact that Kevin Byard had?
I don't know. I still think Byard. I'm still a little bit hopeful for Byard, but I do see he didn't make any impact's plays.
I don't think he's been awful. I don't think he's been special, but I think he's just been solid.
He's not making any special plays outside of that interception. Like he hasn't made any impact plays, but he also he hasn't.
He was really good against
as
Mahomes.
bad. You know what I mean? Yeah. So
right.
I hear. I don't know.
So my thing will always be it's especially when it comes to safety, if you don't see the special play, you might be like, oh, they're not having a good game. Just because you're not seeing that splash play doesn't mean they're not being good. Yeah. And I think people will look at that and be like, oh, I don't see anything. I just don't agree with that.
I mean, it's similar to what you said about Slay too. It's like they see one or two passes he gives up, right? And they're like, oh, he sucks, but they don't see all the other plays where he's actually in good coverage. So that's the part about having football, the broadcast camera in football, where you don't see the whole damn field. And that's why I'm clamoring for Prime Vision to be the default viewing experience for football.
Skybox, baby. That's what I want.
I think every platform that airs live games should have. I really think that the ESPN with the Manning Vision, whatever they want to call it, should go to an all 22 format. I think so too. Because you just, for those who want the casual, who just wants to do this, wants to do that, watch it, cool. But those of us who want to see what's going on, why, like we said, Jacob said, why is Jalen holding on to the ball? And he had the most time, right? And then just, I don't know. So
I think it's the Manning cast. I think because remember the college does that for the NCAA for the championship game, where the other ESPN2 will have the coaches break down game tape as it's going on. I think doing something like that for the Manning cast would be amazing. You know what I mean? Because they would be awesome. They would be awesome at it. It would be. I already watch their Manning cast most of the time, except I start with them, and then when they start interviewing people that I don't have any interest or I go back to the ESPN. But
I'm not gonna lie. I was watching highlights of it, and I'm seeing this dude with braids, and I'm like, who the fuck is this? And I'm like, I said, why are they talking to Caleb Williams? I thought they could do that. And then they put a Tua Tagovailoa. I'm like, Tua.
That's your lack of belief in Tua. That's your problem.
No, that's the lack of knowing who the fuck he looks like. That's what that is.
He says he got the braids. It's so funny. So funny.
Were you going to say something, PY? You
what?
Forgot. You were going to say something else, I thought.
I was?
No? Okay. So week 13, I'll put a cap on it. I'm out of every Survivor pool now. Thank you, Walker Little. Thank you, Brandon McManus. I should have just went with my gut and just picked anybody who was playing against the Panthers because it would have been sketchy, but I'd have been still alive. It's just, bro. It's just I harken back to what Brady has said. It's just this level of football, bro. Is just so mediocre. It's so mid, man. It's just so much. It's so much parity. I get it. The 49ers is rolling right now, but guess what? They lost 3 in a row, man. They're like that's that. They lost to the Bengals. They lost to the Browns, and I forget who was the third one.
Vikings.
That and the Vikings lost maybe the worst. right? And then even if you look back on the Browns, you know what I mean? It's kind of one of those things. It's just like every team, I think Dynasty said it's like every team has had a game like that, right? Where you and look at how much
I said it.
You said I'm sorry. I'll give you a props. PY said it. And then also take a look at what happened in Kansas City on Sunday night. No, Todd, I don't think no one was getting open. I think that the routes ran. So, like, I think they played off and they gave us stuff underneath, but kudos to Steve Wilkes. They knew our route concepts and they knew the route concepts would lead them into coverage. And by that time, when you get attached, when a DB gets attached to you like that, and you start trying to work your way back, by that time it's too late. That's where Dylan saw that just with the mush rush, it kind of gets him outside the pocket. So maybe it's a 2-yard gain, 3-yard gain, and then he kind of puts himself at risk of getting hurt more. You know what I mean? And taking punishment. But then that's where we should have had a running back on the field for the flat all the time, or going over the middle for the dump off or something. There's something you had to do to change that up. And they
prioritize like getting downfield a little bit too much. I think they believed the Niners secondary could be had, and so they could get them with deep shots, and that just didn't end up being the case. Like, kudos to the Niners coverage. Like, they played a really good game. Like, Charvarius Ward played.
They were
really,
very,
really
very sound, bro.
Very sound. Yeah. So kudos to them.
Around that.
I mean, he had 100, but why they stop going from the slant?
Yeah, from the short game and quick game to it's I don't know. It was a bad approach.
Right.
And they just never went away. And then by the time like they could do something, they tried to react with something. Like, it was by that time it was a little too late. Like, you know what I mean? So unfortunately that's what it was. And then Jacob does ask, do we know when Zach and Avante will be back? Cunningham probably is not this week, maybe a week after, I think. Avante won't be back unless we make a deep playoff run. So to me, that translates to the NFC Championship game at the earliest. So that's what they were saying. All right. So NFL week.
Anything else you want to hit from week 13 before we move into?
Before I relook at the games again. Can we just say, and this has nothing, I don't say nothing, but this doesn't really have to do as much with the Eagles-Niners game as it does just the season as a whole in the whole league. Officiating is horrible, bro.
Oh, yeah, it's been atrocious all week,
all
year.
Absolutely atrocious. Like, it's so...
How many holding calls are missed on the Eagles Sunday?
A lot of holding calls, like... The one play, I will say, the one deep shot to Quez, that was, I'm telling you, that was DPI. That's it. That was
100% DPI, but it should have never gone to him.
It's face. I understand that, but I'm just saying we're talking about the subject of officiating. And so, like, by text, I know he finds a way to take his.
Zacchaeus would have made that catch.
Oh my God, can we? I'm talking about the officiating. All right, just looking at the officiating. All right. That's, to me, that's textbook. Unless if what's his name, or the one officiating on Sunday Night Football.
I know you're talking about.
God damn it. Okay, unless if he wants to tell me that I'm dead wrong, like, from my understanding of the rule for face guarding, you are allowed to face guard. You're allowed to jump up like this to defend the pass, as long as you are not making contact with the receiver.
Mm-hmm.
I forget who it was. I think it's Ambry Thomas. He literally jumps into the chest of Quez Watkins.
Yeah.
The only time he turns his head is right when the ball arrives.
Yeah.
That's face guarding. That's DPI.
Yep.
They didn't call it.
Nope.
Oh my God.
Kittle he single-handedly did a 2-for-1 with a hold on
with a holding. Yeah.
Debo's end around. Then he also got read on Debo's other touchdown.
Yeah, they punched him in the neck while he was on the ground too.
Yeah, it's just one of those things, man. They got it off the chest. Marshall List says Quez Dropkins. Great nickname. But I think, even with all that being said, I think the most atrocious non-call was the MVS on Sunday Night Football.
That's what I was alluding to. Yeah,
I don't know how you don't call that. You swallow that whistle. There was a couple questionable ones Thursday night too that CD had. I felt like that drive they had to take the lead over the Seahawks.
Oh, yeah.
There was some
second half
DPI calls.
driving was ridiculous.
I'm like, what are you watching? Like, but
it's also in Jerry World. That's all you need to know.
Yeah, but yeah, man, it's a crazy week. It's football. It's amazing that we're about to be week 14 of the season. I feel like this season has flown by, bro.
Bro, that's how it always is. Like the season just flies by regardless. Like that's football. You got to cherish it when you have. That's why like people complain about bad primetime games, and I get it. That's not the ideal matchups, but I will watch any primetime game because it's football. It's freaking football. I am going to watch it. I am not going to complain because, hey, football is football. And while it's here during the season, I am going to enjoy every second of it. So you will never find me complaining about a bad primetime matchup because I've learned to be like, hey, at least it's NFL football, damn it.
Right.
It's only here for 4 months, so enjoy it. But I'm trying to scan through the games and seeing anything like Trevor Lawrence injury. Jesus Christ, that Bengals.
He's gonna miss one game.
Yeah, but
hopefully
they run him on bootlegs and stuff. You've seen Doug Peterson's offenses, what he likes to do, and then he can't do that. He won't be able to do that like that. I'm just disappointed in their defense, bro. Like I don't understand. Like how you
they've got pieces.
34 points to
Jake Browning was
how the Bengals were penciling underdogs. I don't know what I don't know how I didn't bet my house on that. Like that was crazy.
That was crazy, and they were part of my parlay too. So I kind of feel your pain too. I mean, that's not as big a survivor, but like that was shocking.
It was. I mean, but you forget they still got Joe Mixon, who's top 15 running back in the league, and you got Jamar Chase.
Jamar Chase, who's still top 3 to 5 receiver in the league. So I mean
the first pass to overtime that he caught, where he bobbled it and then he hauled it in.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like that's just above average elite talent.
Another talking about officiating again.
Mm-hmm.
Overtime, the heave by Beathard to Calvin Ridley. That got called back because of the hold that would have put the Jaguars at the 2-yard line. Atrocious.
Yeah.
Atrocious. That's an atrocious holding call.
Yeah.
There was no hold.
There was
atrocious. Oh my God.
Here's the biggest thing. I'll say this, and then we'll get into PY's list. The begging for calls.
So annoying.
Like even on that hold call, because I think it was 94 Cincinnati looked at the ref, put their hands up, and then they throw the flag. We saw Christian McCaffrey flop after Fletcher somewhat spin them around.
Yeah,
like I'm like, what are we doing? Like, when did this turn into the NBA? When did it? Because
Mahomes does it every play.
The NBA to now in the NFL, like, stop fucking begging.
Oh my God,
you know what I mean?
Hey. Tom Brady talked about it. The product is not as good. And you 20 years ago, would you see this many players begging for calls? No. Like I totally understand if it's an egregious call. Like when players get their face mask held, they know it. So you know what I mean? Like, yes, those calls absolutely did unnecessary roughness calls where a player is out of bounds and it's unnecessary, hits major stuff like that. Absolutely get the call. Make sure you get the call because those are egregious. But come on, almost every single deep shot down the field, you will see someone begging for a DPI. Knock it off. Knock it off. Let's just stop with the crying.
And I tell people this all the time. I said, if it were up to me, I would make every play in football reviewable, but you only get 2 per half. And you have a judge where you look at like they do in baseball, where you have your guy review it, you look at it, and he'll tell your head coach whether or not you think it's worth it. It's the same thing in NBA.
Yeah. Well, we're going to do the same thing now. We're going to be judging and look to see if this list is worth it. So it is time. It is
unleash the list.
It is time. This is the first time we're doing lists after a loss in a while.
So this is less of a list and more just 5 things that have been spewing in my brain.
What?
Like
Hold on.
5 thoughts.
basically
P-Wise 5.
P-Wise 5 angry thoughts.
5 angry thoughts. Okay. All right. Cool. This is gonna be great.
What up, Nate?
I guess go ahead. And time's yours.
So number 5 is I guess just put over under. So my whole thought process is like this is just like the whole season. Like there were a lot of plays on Sunday where I'm just like, it's a lack of using people and it's an overuse of people. Like going to Quez Watkins in that instance instead of Zacchaeus.
Did Zacchaeus even see any snaps?
No. Like stuff like Sidney Brown and Nolan Smith not getting more playing time is driving me crazy, especially when you saw them play, they were effective. Like Gainwell getting more snaps than freaking Swift is just like stuff like that is just like driving me up the wall to where you're just not properly using your personnel and you're underusing the correct personnel and you're overusing the wrong personnel. And it's just like making me want to rip my
Ramadan.
So we just put personnel flops.
Sure, that's a good one.
Well,
so that's your thing. All right, personnel
flops. That's a good one.
Personnel flops. Okay.
This is one we've touched about earlier. Run the ball in the first half consistently. We're not doing it, and then we're hoping and praying in the second half we're gonna bail our asses out by like a few Hurts runs and some Swift runs. It's just like, what is Chuck's writing? Like I just like they're not even trying, and they're wondering why the offense is stagnant in the first half. Towards just like, golly gee, it's I wonder where they're going. Oh, it's a pass? You don't say. Doing their best bad early 2000s Andy Reid impression at times, and it just pisses me the hell off.
Wait, so what's number 4? Not running?
Efficiency, running the ball first half.
No first half runs.
Okay. Cool.
So I've heard this all year, and it sounds dumber every time someone says it. It's the draft philosophy, or philosophies in general when it comes to the Eagles. Because all I hear is, they don't value linebackers, they don't value safeties. It's not fair. They got to do it this year. It's not changing.
So to say roster philosophy.
Roster philosophies. That's a good one. Because they bring up, they should have drafted Nolan Smith, and they should have drafted Jordan Davis. They should have drafted a safety here. They should have drafted someone here. And I'm just like, this is who this team is. Since 2013, when Howie Roseman got control of everything full on, as opposed to other times, this is what he believes in. He believes in the trenches on offense. He believes in the trenches in defense. They haven't drafted a linebacker since 1979. They don't overly pay for linebackers. They truly
in the first round.
Yeah, in the first round.
Right.
They barely drafted them in the second round too. So, and
when they draft him and they see a second contract, they don't try to re-sign him. A la Jordan Hicks, still in the league.
Well, I think his thing was more so injuries then, because if he was healthier, then they probably would have risked it on him as opposed to what's his name.
And I did find out today, I was listening to something that they actually did make an offer to TJ, but it was for more money than he signed for in Chicago. He just wanted to go home.
Yeah, and that tells you everything you need to know. Like they probably valued TJ because he was homegrown, but it didn't work out. Like that's just not what they do. And while I love someone like Kyle Hamilton and I pound at the table for him, they believe in the trenches. They also don't go big for corners in the draft. Like that could change next year, but this is just their philosophy. Like to get all angry and crying and complaining and this isn't right and this isn't what we're supposed to do. This is this team. And since 2013, since he's taken full control, they've been to the playoffs 6 times. out of 10 years. Like, it's most likely going to be
even
7.
personally, a part of you doesn't. That's not good enough. That wasn't good enough for you Sunday.
It wasn't good enough for me Sunday, but like, I want linebackers, I want safeties, but at the end of the day, like, I can't get mad at the results because the results are good. Like, if we were making these decisions and we were just awful and it just wasn't working out for us, I would probably be more upset. But I know the Eagles well. Like, I know what they're going to do and where they're going to go. Like, if you're a light and you know what that color is going to be, you can't be upset when it turns red. Like, oh man, I didn't see this one coming. You did. You knew what color it was going to be. So there's no point in getting upset.
That's probably one of the best analogies you've ever had.
What?
That's one of the best analogies you've ever had. That makes so much sense. It's odd coming from you.
If it's yellow and you know it's red, when it turns red, you can't be like, oh, you son of a... Like, you know it's going to happen. Like, you can't get mad at the draft philosophies or the roster constructions when you know
you can have issue with them, especially when they come to roost when another team attacks it, right? Like the 49ers did. But nevertheless, like you said, what can they do? They like to sign free agent corners, the big money that to spend and draft and invest well. They're trying, but I get it. Number 2.
Hold on, Joe. Joe says next week give Chucks the list ahead of time, and he can make a PowerPoint with transitions and with each reveal. It would be really funny to spend the time to make a PowerPoint on this, but one, I don't want to spend the time to, and I've already got so many things to
just wait till we get the PY's 5 theme song done.
Mainly, I want to be surprised when he announced it. I don't feel like knowing beforehand.
That would ruin this. Like, there's certain times where I know it's going to be a lot of fun, and I'll just message him and be like, "This is what's happening. Get ready."
Know, yeah. All right. Molly Mall says this is actually a decent list so far. This time I might put my beer down. Oh boy. Okay, go ahead.
Convincing wins. I keep hearing this.
You're mad about convincing, or you're mad that
people talk about convincing wins.
So people are upset because they're not beating teams by 20. This is not what our team was last year. What? They're beating the Chiefs, they're beating the Cowboys, they're beating the Dolphins, they're beating the Bills. In the 2 years prior, their best win was probably the Vikings.
In week 2.
Was in 2011 and 22, their best wins was probably both from 2022, where it was the Vikings and who was the Cowboys' backup quarterback last year?
Cooper Rush.
Yeah, Cooper Rush. And a Cooper Rush led Cowboys team. Those were your best wins. Like, the Eagles are doing nothing but beating good teams last year. Obviously, they lost to the Niners, but there's more of a track record this year than as opposed to any other years. It's just dumb. Like, you just want to beat bad teams like the Cowboys do, so you can puff your chest and be like, oh my God, we beat them by 20. It doesn't matter to me because I'd rather beat a good team no matter what. Like, it doesn't matter if you win by an inch or a mile.
Right. If they win Sunday and you go through this 5-game gauntlet, I want to know any other top 5 team in the league that would have come out 4-1 or better.
If you go from like the Washington football game to the Seahawks game, if you end up where you have 2 losses during that stretch, any Eagles fan worth their salt would have been like, yeah, sign me up. It sounds freaking fantastic.
Yep. Number 1, sir.
It's Nick Sirianni.
You're complaining about Nick Sirianni?
No. I'm not upset about Nick Sirianni. I'm upset with the disrespect that Sirianni gets.
Oh.
I've never seen a head coach do what he's done in his first 3 years as a head coach and get the disrespect that's thrown at him, the rudeness towards him, the discussions about whether or not he can be trusted. What are you talking about? So in his first 3 years, he's 33-13, 2-2 in the playoffs. He's 32-10 with Hurts, And since that god awful Giants game, he's 28-7. Like, what are we doing here? Like, no quarterback, no coach in his first 3 years have had this good of a run I've seen. Like, but they talk about him like he's a bum.
He's not likable. He's not
really. You don't think so?
I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about from a national perspective. He's not someone who is easily marketable. He doesn't talk flashy. He's not a good public speaker. So I can get it from that standpoint. Do I agree? No, I think some of the stuff is undeserved, but also at the same time, he's also not without fault either. So that's why I kind of perked up a little bit when you said his name, because I was like, oh, maybe like, you know what I mean? Like maybe it is something to be said about, all right, like maybe he's not as good as we think he is.
So it's not even so much what other fan bases think of Sirianni, because look, he's a loud Italian, and as a loud Italian, I am not for everybody. Some people love me. Some people want to spit in my face and push me down a flight of stairs. I get it.
Wow.
I know who I am. Like, and Sirianni knows who he is. But I've heard Philly people talk about this like this about him, and I'm just like, it just blows my mind that someone who's had this much success in this little time just isn't respected properly in the city. And
well, I will also say this. Here's the thing, right? Last year's season, arguably, from the way they were routing teams, was probably the best regular season Eagles teams that we've ever seen from a performance standpoint. So he set, like, that team set the bar so high, and he's had this success so early that he may be ultimately a product of his demise, may be a product of his own making. Honestly, because he set the bar so high, and it was just like, once again, it was the perfect marriage. Like, you had a head coach who was perfect for what they had, and you had two coordinators who kind of just did their thing. You know what I mean? So, and now he has to try to find that match again. I personally, I'll knock him for one thing. I personally think he needs to get more involved in the offense.
I do.
I think he needs to become more hands-on.
What was he inheriting? Can you explain that to me? What amazing roster was he inheriting? It's
not so much the roster. He started off with the future quarterback on the team. That's a big help. And he had the offensive line.
They expected that team to win like 5, 6 games.
I made money off them. I made money off Vegas. I ain't gonna hold you. I saw that win-loss. I was like, all right, yeah, I'm gonna take the over, baby. But also it was not just because of the team. It's also the schedule he was facing too. Like, I didn't, like, you know what I mean. So it is what it is. But he's great for. I think he emotes what this area is in their head coach. When you talk to not the snobby aristocratical people, right? But he's never going to be. He's never going to be liked by the national media who drink the tea with the pinky out. But that's Philadelphia as it is anyway. Yeah, you know what I mean. That's how the national media looks at Philly anyway. So he's a perfect epitome of that. So, but at the same time, Nick, do your job. Like, do your job. To the point now, like, it's crazy to say at 10-2 you need to see improvement, but to get to where you want to go, to get to the goals that you have, like Super Bowl or bust. You have to go. You have to make sure we can see it. Don't disrespect Fulgham and Ward.
Yeah, right. Like, he was winning games with like Jalen Reagor and Quez Watkins playing like serious snaps. Like come on.
Isn't Jalen Reagor in New England now?
I think so.
Yeah.
Can you imagine Belichick just like watching the tape of Reagor doing some shit like?
Oh my god!
Well, he loves awful wide receivers, so like he's probably like admin.
He's a woman. He loves projects. He wants to fix people.
Oh my god!
He wants to fix people. Sitting here, I was wanting to rebuild a culture that had gone stagnant. He just did that, and now I'm grateful that he's here. Cool. I'm grateful too, but I have nothing else. It is the holiday season. I hope everybody's being safe. This year. She involved the offense, and he put input. Well, then he needs to put some different input in, because whatever is not translating to in game.
So some of these, there was a comment earlier and how Sirianni is over involved in this offense and it's not very good, just like it was in 2021. But I'm like, there are top 5. If that's the case, like there's still a top 5 offense in the NFL. Could it be better? Yes. So I'm like, I think people in Philadelphia, they don't know what to pick. It's either he's too involved and it's causing problems, or he's not involved enough, which is also causing problems. You gotta be consistent.
I think the truth is we don't know exactly what extent any coach is involved because we're not in the building.
Yep.
That will always be the case with any team. But I think that Sirianni, this is always going to be Sirianni's offense.
Yep.
He's always going to have the final stamp of approval on what the approach is, what the game plan is, and he's going to give his his approval, like his input. He's going to have his stamp on the offense one way or another. Again, to exactly what extent we do not know. We never will know unless after he retires, he says it himself in an interview. Like, we'll never know to what extent, but like, it's his offense. He's an offensive coach. He's going to run it how he wants it, but Brian Johnson's the one that's going to call the plays. That's what we know, and that's just how it is. I think we have to just acknowledge it. Like, you can't. Here's my thing: people can't go for Brian Johnson's head and act like Nick Sirianni isn't without fault. That's my thing.
Yep.
Like, you have so many people, and I forgot to say this earlier, but you have so many people complaining again, and we had another one saying, you got to fire Brian Johnson. Fire Brian Johnson. You want to fire Brian Johnson, you better have a similar like take on Nick Sirianni because it's his offense too.
It's his offense Brian too. Johnson
and how you and again, we gave up 6 straight touchdown possessions. I think it was 6, right? After the first quarter.
Yep.
6. We didn't stop them after the first quarter at all. They were all touchdowns. And your first take is to go after Brian Johnson?
Yep. That's
You
amazing.
can tell when the agenda is absolutely.
They just don't like him. It's not Shane Steichen, which I get it. Like, Brian Johnson has not been perfect, but at the end of the day, they're a top 5 offense, and one of his worst strengths was clearly the red zone, and the red zone is top 5 to 8 as a right thing. Like,
does he not get credit for
Trust
that?
me, I'm not in a complete love fest with Brian Johnson like I thought I would be, but he's solid. Like, your best case scenario, he leaves, he goes out and gets a nice cushy head coaching job, and I get a nice 3rd round pick. Okay, like let's same thing with Sean Desai. Like, if he wants to go out and leave too, and we get 2 new coordinators, I'll take 2 3rd round picks. Make me a happy camper, baby.
Yep.
I think you can do a lot worse than Brian Johnson. I like Sean Desai.
You could.
You can do a lot more
his name is the loser from McDaniels. That's who. You could do worse with him.
You could do a lot worse. Yeah.
Do we think we win Sunday?
Yes. But
originally I had us splitting with the Cowboys, so I had this marked as a loss. But I think with the manner that the Eagles lost, they are going to really bounce back. I think you said it, Pete, so I agree with you. Like, I think they bounce back in a big way. I'm not saying we dominate and we blow the Cowboys out because the Cowboys are too good of a team to be
awesome.
Especially there.
To be blown out. Yeah, especially there. But I think we look a lot better this time around. So I do think we win.
I think it's a win too. So that's 3 across the board. Before we get out of here,
since 2011.
Best Christmas movie, just a movie. We won't go into detail. Best Christmas movie, title, and then we'll get out of there at 1 hour and 45.
I can't say best because there's so many different genres. Like I can't say best. I can say
You're already off to a bad start.
I can say my favorite.
Okay, that's a favorite. Yeah, best was for you. Subjective. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Okay, so my favorite is Home Alone 2.
Okay.
That's my favorite.
All right, we're gonna stick you in the corner off somewhere else. Pete, where's your at?
Why? Why am I off in the corner?
I just think there's so many better ones. There's so many better ones.
It's Home Alone 2.
It's lost in New York. So for me, my favorite Christmas movie, and this is just because I am who I am, and I know people are going to be divisive with this, and I'm usually not divisive, but for me, it's Die Hard.
That's a great choice.
I love that. I love it.
Great choice.
So you're in the camp that, because you remember, the whole debate of is it
it's a Christmas movie. Anyone who says no is a liar.
It's good. She was there for Christmas. That's why he was there.
The whole purpose of that movie is for him to celebrate Christmas with his wife.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a Christmas movie. I would. Yeah, PY, you go first before I go on honorable mentions.
So mine, just because it makes me smile every time I watch it, it's The Year Without a Santa Claus.
Okay.
The Heat Miser, Cold Misers, even though it's been so long since that movie has come out, it's referenced in everything.
Yeah.
Like they were even making fun of it in a Batman movie, for Christ's sakes.
Yeah.
Joe says Home Alone is the best. I love Home Alone. I love Home Alone.
I would say Home Alone is probably the most original concept
if you watch the movie Dogma, they one of my favorite jokes from that movie is there's a character who's a muse who inspires people to write stuff. And they're like, oh, I'm responsible for 9 of the 10 highest grossing movies of all time. And they're like, what's the 10th? Oh, the one with the kid, I didn't help that. Somebody sold their soul for that piece of crap.
Right.
Wait, so PY, you think the Home Alone movies are crap?
No, she says that. Salma Hayek is a muse in the movie. And they're like, oh, what?
No, I know the movie. No, I've seen the movie. I know what you're talking about. I just because I said Home Alone 2 and you said I should be in the corner. I don't understand.
I don't I'm not the biggest Home Alone person, but I also I think the second one is a little sequel-ish.
Right. I think I love the second one. I love the second one. I think I think 1 and 2 are both awesome, but I find myself having more fun in the second one because being lost in New York is that's one of my fears because New York is scary as shit.
Look, man, once you get in Harlem at 3 a.m., nothing is scary.
My God, can you imagine Central Park in the middle of the night?
Not knowing where you're at as a 12-year-old kid.
Yeah, it's crazy. My before we go, my honorable mention, and probably no one's on here too. I love Love Actually. I think Love Actually is a great Christmas movie. So
what's a good one that people don't bring up a lot, but one of my friends from the UK is obsessed with. The Holiday.
Oh yeah, The Holiday is a good one.
Okay.
I love The Holiday mainly because they're trying with a straight face to make me believe that Kate Winslet is not one of the sexiest women in America, and that she would have trouble finding love. And of all people who are going to show her love is Jack Black.
Jack Black.
There's so many out there, bro.
Cameron Diaz gets Jude Law. Kate Winslet, Jack Black.
Hey man, Jack Black is. If Jack Black lost 20, 30 pounds and put glasses on, PY, you be a doppelganger, brother.
Well, I'll break out the horn. I'll do 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 do. Yeah.
So okay,
they are.
Yeah, that's a tough hill to come. There was enough room for them on that. But with that being said,
it's been scientifically proven, by the way.
Yeah. Thank you for rocking with us. We'll get out of here before it gets midnight because we definitely can go on a tangent. But happy holidays to all. Birds got to bounce back, baby. That's the only thing we could do. Check out Royal Billiards. Check out Carlino's. Check out hats.com. Promo code Philly. Stick with A2D. You already know where to be at A2D Wednesday night. Pro Fan Talk on Thursday. No In This Very Ring on Friday. Sunday early, you got Money Pop Podcast with Nate. You got Flagship on Sunday. Hopefully celebrating after Eagles win. Biggest plug of this week. Come out to the 2300 Arena. Me, myself, and Michael Chromiak and ECW Zone, WWE Zone, the Blue Meanie. We're doing a pregame show live in action. It's right around 6:15 and 6:30 at the 2300 Arena. Food, drinks, everything is there. Eagles watch party, Eagles Dallas. Doesn't get any bigger than that. And for that, we up out of here. Go Birds. Peace.
Go Birds.
Peace.